what we usually do is when we have a practice session, what uh, the Blessed One Buddha has recommended is uh, to have a talk about the practice and also have a discussion about the practice. So why we do that is because this is an unknown area we enter into. So there will have a lot of things you may not know. So you may be able to get to know them. And at the same time, there will have experiences that you don't know. So you can get clarifications for those things. And there will have some doubts of what is happening. Those things can be cleared. And moreover, when you listen to a talk or get involved in a discussion, it inspires you a lot, it energizes you a lot. So for those reasons, he has recommended to have a sermon or a talk and a discussion. So we call it listening supportive factor and discussion supportive factor. Right? So that is what we are going to do. So our usual routine is to have the talk first, right? And then go to the discussion. But we are changing that usual routine today because you will have to leave little early. So I would take the discussion supportive factor first and then ask whether you have any questions to ask before I ask questions from you. You have listened to mindful walking, you have listened to mindful sitting and practiced about 15 minutes each. So you may have something to talk about it. Do you have anything? Yeah.
My experience is like when I was working, I started to focus in my body.
Your what?
In my body. My mind was kind of taking over. Sometimes I was focusing in my legs while walking, but normally my thoughts are stronger. I lost the present moment, let's say. My mind is kind of distracting me with worries or what, I don't know. When I'm doing the sitting, it's easier for me. Sorry, walking.
Yeah. So what you are saying is walking, you try to take your attention to the body, mainly to lower part of the body, to the walking, and then you could not really pay attention to walking, and you were taken away by the wandering mind, wandering thoughts, right? So many type of thoughts, right? Okay, so that is the first lesson. First lesson is to say that you have no control of yourself, right? So you can see that only when we try to focus on something, and the thing that you focus on should not be something very attractive to you, very inspiring to you. It should be a neutral thing, right? So you are not going to walk. You are not going on an evening walk. You are not going to work. You are not going to catch a bus. You are not going to catch a train. You are just walking for the heck of it. Go there, go here, go there, go there, here. Never done in your life, although we have been walking for such a long time, it doesn't have any objective, right? So therefore, there is nothing to grab your mind. When the mind is not having something to cling on to, only it says, I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that. I need something juicy, I need something tasty, I need something sour, sweet, right? Right? So this is how we try to understand the behavior of the mind. Right? So we use the body to understand the mind. Right? So this is therefore the first lesson, that our mind is wandering, which means you have actually been mindful. Unless you have been mindful, you will not be able to tell this. Right? So, but when we have that experience, we consider that as not being mindful, because what our mind suggests is having the attention steadfast directly the whole time on the leg is mindfulness, which is rubbish. Right? That is just the reference point. Right? That is just the reference point. Your safe ground if you can get there. But mindfulness is awareness. So you have been aware. Although we have been walking for such a long time, although we have been thinking for such a long time, this is how our mind works has never come to surface. So this is the way to take our mind to the surface. Having said that, we challenge our mind much more. How we challenge that is, now we did today, we walked for only 10-15 minutes or 10-12 minutes, right? So when we are usually walking, in this session, we are walking for 45 minutes. And in our other sessions that we are doing, we are walking for 1 hour. So just imagine the experiences that you will have if you walk for 1 hour. Like if you walk for something which has no meaning, up and down, up and down, up and down, like a crazy man, your mind gets more and more wild. You can see the wild wilderness nature of our mind more and more. Right? Our mind is like a mad monkey, jumps from one branch to the other, from that to the next, has no control. Right? So to see that more and more, we just keep on doing the same thing. While doing that, what we do is, okay, if the mind wanders, we let the mind wander. We don't fight with it. Just be aware that mind is wandering, right? And whenever possible, right, when you are walking, suppose you have walked for 10 minutes, there will have 1 second where you will be able to see your walk, right? And if you are able to see your walk, you gather as much information as possible of the walking. So for that, what we do is we try to have our attention not to the whole body, not to the whole lower part of the body. Just pick one point, say the sole of the foot to start with. And you keep your attention to the sole of the foot and you see what happens when you lift it, to what you feel on the sole of the foot, and then take it. When you place it, you see what happens. And there are few things that are happening. The way you place the leg can be observed. And the other thing that you can observe is once it is placed, what you feel. Right? So you call them shapes, manners, and sensations. You can observe those things. Right? Then it is not the whole walking process, just one point in the walking process. Right? So that makes your mind more sharper. Right? When you try to make your mind sharper, its wilderness nature either gets tend or it puts more rubbish out. Right? Either way, it is our characteristic, it is our defilement. So you, like you spoke today, you will have to talk about it. Then in our discussion, we can clear out rubbish, and then we have our mind is usually very bright, very shiny. Right? That is the talk we are going to do today. And we can reach that mind gradually, not in 1 hour, not in 1 week or 1 month. We don't have courses of 90 days. Okay, we'll give this, we'll give that. Right? It's a slow, beautiful process. Right? So no need to rush. Do it at your own pace. right? So any questions on that? Make sense? Right. So we will talk about mindful sitting now, and you can know your mindful sitting, and just
So should I speak about the sitting? My experience sitting? I find easier to be aware of my body and mm, slightly about my mind. So sometimes I'm able to observe a little bit the thought, although the thought normally is taking over the whole process. For me, sitting is easier. Before in the past, uh, experiences, yes. So mental, my mind is wandering almost constantly, but probably because there is no movement, maybe, and I had my eyes closed because I don't have as many senses connected with the surrounding. I'm able to be more settled and peace and maybe more aware about my body and my mind potentially.
your now this has revealed your personal character. You have a character of thinking. So this is why both in walking, it is general for a lot of people, because what we do is most of the time keep thinking rubbish, right? Therefore, they come as soon as we try to focus our mind. It's not a mistake, personal mistake of anybody. It's human nature, right? Um, so even here you mentioned two things. One is wandering mind, which we had discussed. So it's the nature which comes out when we try to bring our attention to one thing. And here we are trying to bring in the attention to much finer object. Walking, it's a process. Like it's not as fine as observing your breath, right? So when you try to bring your attention to this fine object, wilderness of the mind is more and more exhibited, right? It wanders more and more, right? Doesn't matter, the treatment is the same. Right? Treatment is the same in the sense you don't worry much about it. You just accept that this is how it is happening. And what you should try to do is you should try to bring your attention to your breath or to the body, right? Whatever you have been observing. So when you usually present your experience, this is how you'll have to present. Now for walking, and I told you to have your attention to the sole of the foot. So you can say either you have your attention to the sole of the foot or the whole walking process, right? So you will have to mention when you are walking, I am paying my attention to the walking process. If you do that, if you pay your attention to the sole of the foot, then you will have to say, I pay my attention to the sole of the foot. And then this is what I observe on that, right? Or although I try to do that, I can't observe this is what is happening, right? And similarly, when you talk about your sitting, you can say in my sitting posture or when I'm doing my sitting mindfulness, I try to focus on my breath. If you do that, and I try to focus on my breath on so and so place, whether it is your tummy or the chest or the nostril or anywhere else that is peculiar to you. I can't tell where you should observe. It depends on your experience, right? Suppose you're observing tummy, for example, right? Then you can say, I try to observe my tummy. I could not observe anything, right? My mind started wandering. So when you don't have any specific point as that to take your attention to, then mind is having a license to wander, right? But if we give some carrot to the mind, because mind wants something to hang on, so we give something to hang on, which is either sole of the foot or the tummy or the chest or the nostril, right? Then mind will be little happy, right? And then you try to observe that. When you try to observe that, it won't be there for long, but at least you will be able to see what happens to that place for few seconds, right? Then you can observe what is happening, tell what is happening, right? So this is when you present your report next time. And because you have a wandering mind, another technique that you can use is when you walk to avoid, because you don't have any much connection with, as you said, in your sitting, with the outside world. Your mind is very free. That is why all these thoughts are coming out. So we give some work to the mind. The work that you give to the mind is to take to know what you are doing. When you are walking, you can walk saying walking, 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 walking. So the mind has something to think. It can't think rubbish. And at the same time, you observe what happens to your soul. Or else what you can do is, you can, when you take the right foot, right. You take the left foot, left. Right? So then we restrict the wandering mind. Right? Similarly, when you observe your respiration, your breathing, you let the breath happen naturally, and then label when you breathe in, in. When you breathe out, out. Right? You have your attention to the tummy or the nostril or the chest, one place, not all three places, and then keep labeling when it happens naturally. Not that you say in when out is happening or out when in is happening. When it is happening, then and there you say in, and when in is over, when out is happening, you say out. So the wandering mind is not having a chance to wander, right? So I think first day, first experience. Have you done in the past? Ah, right. Ah, right. Mm, mm. So this is how I think it's a good start, right? And hope what I said makes sense. And yeah, and then keep practicing on a daily basis at home. Since both of you are doing, you can do together. And have a timetable. I'll be always do walking and sitting at the same time. If you walk for 30 minutes, sit for 30 minutes. If you walk for 45 minutes, sit for 45 minutes. So you divide the time available 50-50 and use that time to uh, use that time equally between the two techniques. Right. So then we can go into more and more details depending on your experience. Right. So do you want to say anything about your practice? Yeah. Can you connect it? I will disconnect from here.
Um, so about the working process, I found it difficult to focus on my thoughts because I had my eyes open, so I could see like just being able to see colors or outside, or it's like it was easy for my mind to just go out. And also I was trying to pay my attention to all my body, and I think it's difficult because you get a bit lost. I was trying to feel my feet, like when I put my feet on the floor, but I was also trying to feel my shoulder relax. So it was a bit too much. So at the end, the mind is a bit like going out. And yeah.
All right. The first thing you mentioned was you were trying to pay attention to the whole body. That is, when you're walking, you try to pay attention to the lower part of the body. And now, with Antonio's explanation, we don't take the whole lower part of the body. We just take one point, which is the sole of the foot. So it will be easier when you do next time instead of bringing your attention there. And the other thing is, you said since the eyes are not closed, it is very easy to get distracted. Right. So that is 100% correct, and that is a challenge we give, right? Because when you come from doing all other day-to-day routine and sensual world, when you come from the sensual world, and if I straight away ask you to come and sit here and close your eyes and observe breath, that is too much. The fast-moving vehicle sudden break, right? So we just slow it down. So what you're saying is right. That is the slowing down. That we change the gear to the first gear and move slowly. Right? And with that, when you come and sit, it is more effective. Right? So, having said that, if you try to see at least one for 1 second, if you can see what is happening in your legs or the movement of the legs or your walking process, that knowledge is very important. That knowledge is very high because you take that knowledge with a lot of difficulty. So it has a high value. It has a much stronger emphasis and focus, right? So therefore, those are not barriers. Those are the factors that is given to you to encourage you, right? And the other thing that you mentioned was you got lost, right? And because of because of the process that you have mentioned, and when you say that you are lost, and all these things, mention three things, all these three things you can say because you are mindful. Otherwise, you aren't able to say what happened. You are able to say, I was trying to do this, I could not do this specifically because of this reason. Right? Although you are not observing the sole of the foot, you very clearly said, I try to observe my whole body. Right? And then you realize that it is going haywire and then can't concentrate and then getting lost and all that. All these things are happening now in the present moment, right? But by being in the present moment, our mind is expecting good ice cream, something to lick, like a chocolate. Right? But all what we see is our inefficiencies. That is all what we want. If we know our weakness, there is no strength other than knowing our own weakness. So therefore, we don't want anybody to come and tell us. We know what is right. So that's the teaching, that's the message, that's the education mindfulness is providing. So both of you have got that basic thing. You know that we don't have a control. Knowing that is a huge strength because we can relax now. Otherwise, what we try to do is we try to take a good chain and try to bind our thoughts and tie it somewhere and suppress it somewhere. No, just accept. Mind is wandering, but we give carrots to the mind because it has been giving carrots all this time to us. Now we give carrots to the mind, and then weaken its strength. One carrot is selecting a point to focus. Then the mind is happy. Then other carrot is labeling what we are doing. Then the mind is happy. Right? So like that, we can tame our mind. So it becomes like, a wild elephant taken from the forest, jungle. When it is straight away taken from the jungle, and brings to the village, it's very difficult. Such a huge animal, and it's breaking everything. But if you can somehow tame it will be doing a lot of work. It will do 50 people's work in one day. So like that, our mind, if we can tame, it will be more beneficial to us. Although it looks like, taking trouble in us. Right? Okay, so do you have anything to say about your sitting?
So about the sittings happen, it was easier because my eyes were closed. So it was easier to just see the process of the thought coming and leaving. However, happened the same. I was trying to pay my attention in too many things. So on my breath, on feeling on my body, trying to feel all my body, and that's at the end you lost the control. So yeah.
Okay, that's again to what Antonio said. Now, it's again the personality. Your personality is slightly different to what he was saying for both walking and sitting. You say very clearly, sitting is easier for you because eyes are closed, right? So, and then you have been able to see the breath, and you have tried to see the breath properly, and you have tried to see it in the whole body and things like that. Now, once again, what I would suggest is don't try to see the whole body or at least the upper body. Just pick one point, right? Let the breath happens naturally. See where you feel it most and have your attention only in that place. And then see what happens to that place when you breathe in, when you breathe out. Although I'm pointing my tummy, it may be any place, either chest or at the entrance of the nostril. Some people feel it inside the nostril, and I met people who feel the whole body. Doesn't matter. It depends on how much practice you have done in the past, right? So therefore, I can't exactly tell you you must see here now. Right? You feel take your convenient place, but try to stay on that place as long as possible, right? And then um, if you see one breath, you will have to see information of the breath, right? What you actually felt, how you actually saw it, right? Like I said, for the walking, when you walk, you can see how you place the leg, right? And what you actually feel, the shapes and manners, right? And the sensation. Similarly, for breath, you can see the shapes, manners, and the sensations of the breath, right? Then, and also you can label. If mind is wandering too much, you can say in, and out, out. Then you can focus more. But keep in mind, both of you have what you have mentioned are the signs of being mindful. It was not what I asked you to do or what you wanted to do. It is something else, but you knew what was happening in that moment. So therefore, keep that in mind. Mindfulness means awareness, not the walking, not the breath. But even if I tell you now, and even if you understand that, your mind will never understand that. Even the next time, mind will ask you to make that complaint. That's the habit of the mind. Okay, so I think it's first a very good report. So we find these reports if you continue your practice on a daily basis at home whenever you find free time, and do it before food, either in the morning or evening or both, and come and join us next time. And I have his email address and I'll send it to you. Will you be able to pass the email to her, or do you want me to send separately to her? Can you trust him? Right, okay. Right, then it's all right. Otherwise, he will keep mindfulness for himself and will not give you. Right. Okay. So you're more than yeah. You're more than welcome to stay. But if you want to go, that's fine with us as well. And we will be, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining us. And ask Aravind also find some time and then join us. It will be good for all three of you practice together, and having a group is always good. Right. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you. Right. If we now get to our topic, now South Uncle is there in YouTube, rather sorry, in video in Zoom. So now we are going for the listening supportive factor. For the listening supportive factor, do you remember what we will have to talk today?
I think I know where it is. Okay. Okay. And how bhikkhus does a bhikkhu abide contemplating mind as mind? Here a bhikkhu understands mind affected by lust as mind affected by lust, and mind unaffected by lust as mind unaffected by lust. He understands mind affected by hate as mind affected by hate, and mind unaffected by hate as mind unaffected by hate. He understands mind affected by delusion as mind affected by delusion, and mind unaffected by delusion as mind unaffected by delusion. He understands contracted mind as contracted mind, and distracted mind as distracted mind. He understands exalted mind as exalted mind, and unexalted mind as unexalted mind. I think that's it here.
In Pali, we call it, and I have looked at few what do you call translations of Mahagata and Amahagata, and I have found four translations, and some says enlarged mind, some says enhanced mind. Now this one says exalted mind, and another one I found is great mind. Right, so I am inclining more towards great and exalted mind because they make sense when you really see the translation of Mahagata into Sinhala and what teachers explain what Mahagata Chitta is. In Mahagata Chitta, they are talking about coming into the path, right? So coming into the path in the sense, if you consider the minds that we had before that, right? The minds that we had before that were the lustful mind, and then hatred mind, and then deluded mind, right? And from that, we have been mindful of the other side of that as well, which is like absence of hate, absence of lust, and absence of delusion. So when all these three are not there, you are either confused, which is scattered, or contracted, which is hiding, and or melting mind, right? So all these are not things that you can actually touch. They are not tangible things. These are natures of the mind, different natures of the mind. When you try to bring our mind more and more into ourselves, more and more into our body, these are levels that come out when you master yourself. To master ourselves, what we did was, in the noble quest, we have been observing our body, And then there have been tremendous challenges when we observe the body. We somehow or other was able to manage them and be unwavered with them and continue with our practice, right? So when we are not affected by those challenges in the body, the next challenge we had was the what do you call challenge from the sensations and the feelings, right? Even they were not able to really put us down, pin us down, and we were accepting them honestly, wholeheartedly, 100%, voluntarily, independently, without anyone else's force, we have accepted them. So when we accept feelings as well, we observe there are two types of feelings. Some feelings which are very attractive, some feelings which are very unattractive. So to both these feelings, once again, we had equipoised mind, a balanced mind. As a result, the value of the feelings that we have given in the past have changed from pleasant and unpleasant to a situation where you see there is no much pleasantness in it when it is pleasant, and there is no much unpleasantness in it when it is unpleasant. So your mind has changed its attitude towards this feeling. So once that happens, these natures of the mind that we have are actually coming up. So why they now come out is because they have not been able to maintain the usual habit of the mind, which is to go out and keep on roaming around the universe, right? You somehow or other manage the challenging situations of the body, challenging situations of the feelings, and you stay with yourself. So when you stay with yourself, now the next army is trying to attract you with lust, and you have fathomed that as well. You have been observing them as well, and they have also not affected you, and you have not stopped your practice, and you have continued your timetable, and you don't have a very worrying mind just because you have lustful thoughts. What you simply do is, yes, I have lustful thoughts, and you come and discuss, and the teacher would say only thing you will have to do is don't react to it, just keep observing, that is the nature. So they gradually fade away, right? And then hatred will come. And then when hatred goes on, what happens is you will get attracted to your practice, and you will be loving, you will be having lust towards your own practice, and even that will go away when you keep on observing the same thing. And then when once that goes away, your hatred towards your practice will increase. Even that will go away once you discuss and continue the practice. I'm not going to explain them in detail because we have discussed them in the previous session. So somehow or other you fall into this situation of the mind, or the nature of the mind called deluded mind, where you don't know anything. And even there, you don't react, even if you don't feel anything, even if you feel that you're completely sleepy, you just keep on maintaining your timetable, keep on practicing. And then gradually you will be opening up into that as well, right? So once you are open into that, only the two situations that we mentioned, scattered mind and unscattered mind, or scattered mind and contracted mind will appear. So even to those two things, what we do is, as a surfer taking any type of wave that comes his way, he's riding this wave as well. All these are mind waves, right? So once you write that, you will master that as well. Then you are on the game. You have managed all the challenges that the mind is giving to take you away from the practice, to distract you from the practice. You keep on continuing. As a result, what happens is you now open yourself into the spiritual path. And coming into the spiritual path is also part of the mind. It is experience is coming from the body, but the change is happening in the mind, right? So the Blessed One, not only the Blessed One, even before the Blessed One, these things have been there. These natures of the mind have been there, but they have not been dealt correctly, right? Blessed One, when he introduced mindfulness and when he said, keep the mindfulness to the fore, and the same experiences are coming, right? When those experiences are coming, those experiences, as we know, they are jhanic experiences, or they are the stages of absorptions, right? So when we get into absorption, they are considered as great or exalted, or you are in the path, right? So if we are in the path, then we will have to see, when we come to these jhanic experiences, how you know them, right? And only way you can know is once you have passed it. You will never be able to know that you are in a jhanic experience when you are passing it. Even after you pass that, you will not know unless you hear a talk like this, or discuss your experience with a teacher, or you read a proper book relating to it. But once again, in jhanic experience or in this path, you will have a trick. The trick is, if the teacher explaining it is having concentration based, then he will be giving only concentration based characteristics. Whereas the Blessed One is giving characteristics not based on concentration, but based on vipassana, or based on what happens when you keep the mindfulness to the fore, right? So bearing that in mind, if we take the absorptions what we have, the first absorption that the Blessed One is giving, it is not, of course, the Blessed One. I have taken this from a discussion from the commander of Dhamma, Venerable Sariputta, and Venerable Anand, Dhamma treasurer, right? So two of them have had very beautiful talk. And one day, when Venerable Sariputta was coming from his sitting practice, and Venerable Ananda has seen, he is so bright, he is so calm, so peaceful, and asked the reason for it. Then he has said, I am coming from first absorption, right? And it says, I'm coming from, it says, Vivekaja Sutta, I'm coming from seclusion, right? Born of seclusion. And then the three main things he mentioned in there is, he's secluded from sensual pleasures and secluded from unskillful qualities, right? We call them in Pali aviccheva kamehi aviccheva kamehi aviccheva dhammehi. It says Vivicheva kamehi, vivicheva kusalehi dhammehi, right? So those are the Pali terms, and its English translation is secluded from sensual pleasures and secluded from unskillful qualities. So seclusion from sensual pleasures is common to both samatha and vipassana, and seclusion from unskillful qualities are also common to both, right? But in seclusion from some the unskillful qualities, so far as samatha is concerned, you are secluded from it. Not that you are not affected by it, but because you suppress it, right? There is a slight difference in how it operates in samatha and vipassana. The terms used to explain are the same, but so far as actual operation is concerned, it's different. In vipassana, what happens is you are secluded from it, not by suppressing, but by directly facing it. When you have thoughts, unskillful qualities, unskillful qualities means the sense desire, ill will, sloth and torpor. Those five hindrances are the unskillful qualities, right? So those unskillful qualities, when they arise in vipassana, we directly observe them, we directly accept them. And when you keep on accepting them, they gradually loses their strength, its force, right? So therefore, you get secluded from it. So when you get secluded from them in that manner, you will be able to go to the other qualities of the first absorption. The other qualities of the first absorption are applied and sustained thoughts, and rapture, bliss, born of seclusion. Because you are secluded from those two main challenges you have in life, which is the sense pleasure and the hindrances, you are secluded from that. And how you are secluded from that is by labeling. That is what it says, applied thoughts and sustained thought. You label, and if it is lustful thought, you label it as lustful thought. It's a hatred thought, you label it as hatred thought, right? In that manner, you directly face the Nivarana Dharma or the hindrances, and you get secluded from it, right? And once you are secluded from it, then what is left is what is naturally happening in your body, which is breathing in and breathing out. Then you start labeling that. So when you start labeling that, your attention will be directed to your object, either walking or the sitting, and you will be able to stay on that for a long time, right? And then when you are staying on that for a long time without those challenges, then you feel more and more calm. And that calm situation has been given two terms, which is rapture and bliss, which has come out of, is a product of seclusion, right? So those are the main characteristics of the first absorption, right? And in that, um, uh, you can very clearly see there are four things, or rather five things that are happening. The five things that are happening is your labeling is going on, and as a result of labeling, you are able to see what actually you are able to experience because of the labeling. When you breathe in, you know you are breathing in, and you can actually see how you feel it and what sensations you have. And when you are walking, if you can label right and label left when it is actually happening, and then you can observe all the information relating to that process, right? And that is called sustained thoughts, because you will be able to know these things only from the thoughts generated when it is happening, right? So you have applied thought and sustained thought. So when you keep on doing this, and it is in a way sort of intentional activity, right? Whenever there is an intentional activity, you will have some sort of a friction, some sort of effort required, some sort of energy application, some sort of energy waste, right? So because you are energy being exerted into this continuously, you feel tired. And that becomes, once again, although you don't have sense pleasure, although you don't have hindrances, you have now identified another trouble that keeps you worried, right? So then what happens is, since you have mastered this new way of living, you try to avoid the new trouble you have, right? Which is labeling, right? So instead of labeling, you drop your applied and sustained thought, and get to, when you drop that, and if you still can maintain your rapture and bliss, then it is a better investment, right? You don't have so many inputs, you don't invest much, but your result remains the same. So if your investment is less and same result is coming, then it's a very fruitful investment. So in the second absorption, that is what is happening, right? In there, what happens is, once again, it's another similar discussion with Venerable Ananda, with between Venerable Ananda and Venerable Sariputta. And again, he says, I entered and remained in second absorption. And there he says, without applied and sustained thought, with internal clarity and confidence, with unified mind, with rapture and bliss born of immersion. He has being in the second absorption, and you call it Avitakka Sutta. That is the name of the sutta where this is mentioned. And very clearly he mentions without applied and sustained thought. He's not having applied and sustained thoughts, which is gone. Although it is gone, now he sees internal clarity is higher because of the saving of the energy. He is not wasting energy now to label, to name, right? So therefore, his internal clarity is sharp, and also the confidence is high, right? And because of the higher confidence and higher clarity, mind is more focused, because you have only two things to focus. The two things you have to focus is, or two things you naturally have, is the rapture and the bliss, right? It is now not born of seclusion, it is born of immersion, right? So it has the level of rapture, level of bliss has increased from seclusion to immersion. And then even in that, they identify another troublemaker now when it comes to the third absorption. Again, a similar situation. When Venerable Sariputta was coming, Venerable Ananda is asking how so cool you are in our terms. And then he is explaining in Piti Sutta, with fading away of rapture. Now in this case, he is taking the rapture as the troublemaker. Rapture means it's a situation that you experience in your body, because the mind is so blissful, mind is so calm, mind is so peaceful. Our body is enjoying that, because we have hacked our body all this time. We have suppressed our body all this time. We have harassed our body all this time. We have considered our body as a slave all this time. Now we have released that slave, right? When the body is released from that slavery situation, it is enjoying it, and it is coming from our mind. Our mind has given up everything. It is so peaceful, so happy, and as a result, body is also enjoying the same happiness that the mind is having, and it is so rapturous, right? And there are various levels of raptures, and that rapture level now is jumping too much, right? It is a trouble now to the mind comparatively. When you take the two, blissful situation and rapturous situation is more gross compared to the fine bliss it has. So the mind, what it always looks for is something which has better satisfaction, higher satisfaction. So therefore, because of the natural habit of the mind, now we are able to remove the next troublemaker, which is the rapture. So that is why in Piti Sutta he says, with the fading away of rapture, and be mindful, the words he is using is with the fading away of rapture, not without rapture, right? In the second absorption, where they very clearly mention without applied and sustained thoughts, but here it is not without. It is there, but it has faded away. It is not jumping too much, right? Because whatever that happens in the mind, the body is experiencing. So you can't completely take away from the body. Only thing is you may not feel it. That's all. So here it's feeling, but he knows that it has faded away. Rapture has faded away. When the rapture is fading away, it's very nice. Now it is getting more and more pointed. The factors that you are having getting lesser and lesser, which means you are focusing very clearly onto one thing, right? Therefore, he says, with the fading away of rapture, the next thing I have is with equanimity. Equanimity is now coming up, and the other thing is the most important thing in Vipassana. He says mindfulness and clear comprehension, right? There is no clear comprehension in Samatha. In the third jhana, in the Piti Sutta, Venerable Sariputta says, if you do it in Buddha's way, these are the characteristics you have, right? The characteristic you have here is you have equanimity, you have faded rapture, and moreover, what you have is you have a mind to see whatever that is happening and let it happen, which means your objects are changing, things are changing. You just let it happen. This first and second, coming from first absorption to second absorption, is not something that you do when you come into great mind, when you come into exalted mind. You have kept your mindfulness to the fore. What happens is things are happening, you just let it happen, you just observe. So when you come to the third absorption, now you are in a situation to know it, that I am allowing things to let go. Allowing things to let go and knowing it is allowing the reality to take place, right? You see things as they are, right? So therefore, the quality he is mentioning is with equanimity, mindfulness and clear comprehension. And also he says, personally experiencing the happiness. Personally experiencing the happiness means he has happiness. It's not rapture now. It is not jumping too much. It has faded away. But you are happier comparatively with equanimity and mindfulness that noble ones declare. It is with equanimity and mindfulness with noble ones which noble ones declare, right? Which means this is coming from Venerable Sariputta. So we very clearly know what the noble ones is referring to here, right? So therefore the third absorption is a very clear juncture for us to understand how these jhanic experiences or absorptions will differ from samatha to vipassana, right? And in the fourth one, when you have clear comprehension and when you have one-pointedness, which is equanimity, it goes further, the same talk between the two arahants, great arahants. And the Venerable Sariputta says in Upekha Sutta, first ending of former happiness and sadness, right? Giving up of pleasure and pain with neither pleasure nor pain, with equanimity purified by mindfulness. So this is very interesting. It says first ending of former happiness and sadness. So he has completely ended happiness and sadness. So he doesn't worry what is physically feeling, right? He has gone beyond his body, right? And also he says giving up of pleasure and pain, right? Sorry, giving up of pleasure and pain is what he is feeling in the body. Ending of former happiness and sadness is whatever he is feeling in the mind. So both happiness and sadness that affects mind and the body, he has passed. After passing those two, he says, with neither pleasure nor pain, whether it's mentally or physically, he is not feeling any pain now. He may not, we have heard when people explain their experiences, people say sometimes, I don't feel my body. Not that they are not there. They don't feel the body because there is no pleasure coming out of the body. And there is no pain coming out of the body. And at the same time, you don't feel those things because your mind is not agitated, or mind is not having hateful thought or hateful reaction towards the situation that you are in. So mentally, you are neither happy or unhappy. Physically also you don't feel it. Therefore, you have come to a situation, you have neither pleasure nor pain, right? And when you have that, it's an equanimity purified by mindfulness, right? How it is purified by mindfulness is, you can master your body as well as your feelings when you have clear comprehension. Clear comprehension means let things happen when it happens. You simply become an observer. You simply keep the mindfulness to the fore. When you keep the mindfulness to the fore, these things are happening. Your equanimity you have not gained by suppressing anything and taking your attention only directly, very strictly to the object. You have not done that. Yeah, let things go, let things happen, right? And you have just become an observer. You have maintained only your awareness. So as a result, your equanimity has improved by removing unwanted, troublesome factors in the absorption level, right? So therefore, this equanimity you have gained is gained from or purified by mindfulness. So this is the Pali term that is used, is a bit of a debate about it, and finally everyone agreed on that. It says Upekha Sati Parisuddha. Upekha Sati Parisuddha in books talking in terms of samatha, they say it is the mindfulness purified by equanimity, right? There is nothing that equanimity can do to purify mindfulness. It is the mindfulness that we have kept to the fore in Vipassana, which purifies the equanimity. Right? So, but the word, the explanations in two different places are different. But to have concluding decision on which one is correct, you have the hint from the third absorption. The third absorption, they very clearly say, with equanimity, mindfulness and clear comprehension. Sati Sampajanya. So when you have Sati Sampajanya, it very clearly says, very clearly signals that what drives what is happening is the mindfulness. So therefore, equanimity is purified by mindfulness, is the next factor in the fourth absorption. So once you are in the fourth absorption, still our mind is not happy, right? So all these absorptions are material absorptions, form absorption. And then same talk with the two venerables. Now this time he is saying, I have entered and remained in infinite space and going totally beyond the perceptions of form. He doesn't have any sign of form, any sign of materiality. And I can't read my own word, writing. Hope it is avoiding bodily painful contacts, right? He's ending bodily painful contacts. He's not having any painful contacts in the body because he's not having any body perception. So he does not have any bodily painful contacts and not getting caught up in diverse perceptions, right? So when you don't have any idea of your body, what happens is mind becomes a bit agitated. So it starts giving all sorts of mental formations, right? You call it nanatta sanya. So you have them, not that you don't have them, but it very clearly says because your equanimity is so sharp, which is purified by mindfulness, and you are now strong enough to go through them. So it very clearly says not getting caught up in them. You have diversified, diverse thoughts, perceptions, but you are not being carried away by them. And when you have these three qualities, awareness of infinite space. So you don't feel any form, you don't feel any materiality, you don't feel any painful, either pleasant or unpleasant contacts, and whatever perceptions that comes, you just duck and then don't get caught up with it. And only thing you see is, since you are not being involved in any of those things, you are in a huge space. That is what we call awareness of infinite space. So, Venerable Sariputta says, I'm just entered today to that one and remained in that. And that is why I am so cool, I'm so bright, I'm so, attractive, right? And there are some beautiful words which I don't remember. And then he says, in the next one, even here, now there is a troublemaker. The troublemaker is the infinite space is a trouble now because you will have to, it's just space, right? And what happens is when you keep on observing that, you get used to it. Once you get used to it, and you will be able to go beyond, even beyond that. And what you have beyond that is another day when Venerable Sariputta comes, he says, I have entered and remained in the dimension of infinite consciousness. Going beyond the dimensions of infinite space, aware that consciousness is infinite. So which means when you have this infinite space, your entire mind is with the space. That is the only thing that your mind has taken, right? So the entire space, once you keep on practicing for some time, entire space becomes your mind, right? So therefore, you will not see the space after that. Instead, you will see only the knowing, right? Because you are so used to initially when you saw it, oh, it's so beautiful, because you have come from you have come from form, you have come from materiality. So therefore, the space was such a huge thing, and all these materials are there in the space. So materiality in space is so little compared to the space we have. If you take simply, for example, this particular hall, there are few things, right? If you put all these things into one corner, it's a huge space here, right? And similarly, outside, if you go outside and look up the sky, and you can see the sky, but there is a huge gap between sky and our eyes, which we don't see, right? So similarly in our body, that is how we grow. There is so much of space in our body, and that your mind goes beyond materiality, and your mind goes to the body. Goes to the space. And when it goes to the space, it doesn't feel anything in the body. It doesn't feel any pain. It will know only the space, right? And when you see that space, you have broken up the walls of your body, so you don't know whether this space is your body space or whether this is outside space. It's infinite, right? And then your mind has gone to that, and when you are staying in that, what happens is this entire infinite space becomes filled with your knowing, right? Once it is filled with your knowing, after some time, you see a finer knowing than the knowing of the space, right? Then your attention grabs that, which is dimension of infinite consciousness, right? So once you are in infinite consciousness, then again you keep on observing that. Only thing you know is, I know something, but I can't tell what it is. There is, I am aware. That's all I know. I'm not dead, but I can't say anything about the body. But I don't have any blank space or anything as such. But my awareness has not disturbed. I am aware. So this is a situation where a lot of people find it difficult to spell out, because this is not something that is taught in our books. Even in suttas, there are no ways to explain it, although this has been mentioned in this manner. It is an experience which is very difficult to put into words, right? And then what happens is, when you keep on observing that knowing, another day, when Venerable Sariputta comes, he says to Venerable Ananda, I entered into the dimension of nothingness, right? Dimension of nothingness means going beyond the dimension of infinite consciousness, aware that there is nothing at all, right? So this is an interesting phenomena. When you become aware of your whatever that you know, initially it becomes so attractive because it's a new phenomenon. Now you keep on observing that, keep on knowing that you know, and ultimately only thing you know is there is nothing to know. In that knowing, there is nothing to know. So mind, it simply says there is nothing for the mind to hold on to. So it falls into the nothingness. And the Venerable Sariputta says, no, I went there and I remained there, and that is why I am so blissful. And he says, going beyond the dimension of infinite consciousness, aware that there is nothing at all. And when do you know? Only once you come out. When nothing is there, you don't know. Only when you come out, you know that you are in nothingness. Otherwise, if you know, then there is something to talk about, right? So in nothingness, it is very tricky. Aware that there is nothing at all. How he is aware that there is nothing at all is because not that he was aware. If he was aware, the consciousness is there. Even he has gone beyond the consciousness. So this is what the Blessed One has taken up. Not only Blessed One, even before Blessed One, people have taken up. But they come to this stage by focusing and suppressing others. But what Blessed One does is, he keeps the mindfulness to the fore, and whatever he eliminates the troublemakers. He eliminates the clear comprehension to take the lead and let things happen as they happen, right? So once he enters into the nothingness, and when he is aware that there is nothing at all, then another day when he comes, he says, I have been in the dimensions of neither perceptions nor non-perception, and I remain there, and that is why I'm so blissful. And I have gone beyond the dimension of nothingness and entered and remained in neither perceptions nor non-perception. So there he has concluded it. He says, I entered and remained in neither perceptions nor non-perceptions. So this is again an interesting point. And if you end up only in nothingness, then you can't reach nirvana, because you don't know what is happening. Right? So you should come back. You should take a U-turn and come back, and you should feel something. And when you feel something, you feel something which you can't explain. Whether you feel something really that is explainable or not explainable, you yourself can't say, but you know that you feel something. So it is not a situation that you know after you come out of it. It is a situation that you know when you are there. So it is not just knowing, there is some perception. And that perception cannot be verbalized. It cannot be given any mental fabrication. The only mental fabrication that can be given is neither perception nor non-perception. It's like a minister without portfolio. You can't exactly say what it is, but there is something going on, right? So I was there, and I entered and remained there. And in all these suttas, I have not mentioned them when I was explaining the absorptions. In all these suttas, what he says is, when I entered and remained there, I was there without identifying myself with them. That can happen only in Vipassana. In Samatha, you identified yourself with it. That is why ascetic Asita had to cry after knowing that the Blessed One is enlightening and teaching the path for other beings to enlighten. He had to cry because he can't come out from where he is in. And that is why Alara Kalama and Uddakarama Putta, went there and they had to stay in those places because they have identified themselves in that. Blessed One also went to those stages, but he realized that there is a pain. He realized that there is a friction in the method that they apply. So they actually, Blessed One just what do you call it, upgraded an existing machine. And that upgradation is huge. Right? The machine was there, mechanism was there, but it was not functioning properly. The Blessed One identified the friction in it, and he changed the nuts and bolts here and there, and then the machine prepared a new machine which worked perfectly to liberate human beings and living beings who can really understand this. So this is Mahagata Chitta, and this is how you get into Mahagata Chitta. When you get into Mahagata Chitta, can you turn on that light? The first one. Thank you. Important thing is, yeah, first one. Yeah. When you are in exalted mind, you are aware you are in an exalted mind. And when you are not in exalted mind, you are aware that you are not in exalted mind. So this is what we want to know. We don't want to know the absorptions. Absorptions I have explained to say that this is the path that will take you to have a great mind. But what happens is, in our mind, this exalted mind will go the other way around. It will fall from neither perception nor non-perception to nothingness. From nothingness, it may fall to consciousness. From consciousness, it may fall to the space. From space, it may fall to equanimity. From equanimity, it may fall to happiness. From happiness, it may fall to rapture. From rapture, it may fall to the second absorption and the first absorption. So, which means it may reverse. So, what it says is, this is the nature of the mind. If you provide right condition, if you let the clear comprehension to happen, it will take lead. And if you don't provide right condition, it may not happen. Although you have achieved a certain stage, you have the ability to achieve, but at the same time, it has the ability to fall down as well. So what I want you to do is, the Blessed One says, you are aware of what is happening. Right? So these are things that change. These are not things permanent as well. These are mind phenomena. So these mind phenomena are changing. So don't identify yourself with them. You just, that is why now, when Venerable Ananda asked from Venerable Sariputta, how you are looking so cool, he would have straight away said, I was in neither perception nor non-perception. No, he didn't say that. He himself, in that first day, he has been in the first absorption. That does not mean that he has never been to the other. But that day, he has not been able to provide right conditions to enter into any higher jhana. Right? But in all the 7 or 8 suttas there, he very clearly says, I did not identify myself with that. That is the only thing that the Blessed One is teaching us in 4 foundations of mindfulness. And in all these anupassanas, he says, you will get there, but don't put your glue on it and get part of that. Right? You just keep your distance with it. You have the ability to reach there when you provide right conditions. And don't ask why it is not coming to me today. It will come if you don't try. It will come when you keep on doing your practice. Right? So that is the message Blessed One is giving. Your Mahagata will become Amahagata. When it becomes Amahagata, it is a lesson for you to go to higher layers, greater layers of your mind. So if you want to go to greater layers of mind, to deeper layers of mind, you will have to just be aware of it. Pajanati. And in these fine layers, most of us get hooked and keep on fighting, keep on taking agony to fight for their rights of having that higher absorption that they had yesterday. And if you don't give some advice to have the same thing tomorrow, then you will go and find another place or another technique. And this mad fellow doesn't know. Otherwise, he would have told me. Blessed One himself says, those damn things will go out, will not stay with you if you don't provide right conditions. And even if you provide right conditions, there are many other conditions that affect them. So they may not come. It has not come to Venerable Sariputta himself. So your job is just to be aware. And that is Vipassana. That is a new way of looking at things, a new outlook, right? So hope this talk has given some enlightenment, some new ideas to have that new outlook into the practice, and wish you all the best in continuing your timetable and maintaining that steadfast pajanati in all what happens in your practice. Blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. And if you have any question, comment on that talk, we can take a few minutes for that. Yeah.
Sort of related to the talk, and also my just a practical question as well. You know, my experience that I've been reporting about for a little while, is it the fifth jhana? Okay. Second question. The other day when I was listening to the Satipasa that class, and then I was doing some walking here, and then I was doing some drunken walking, and I believe it's happening because I'm listening more than I'm paying attention to walking. After a while, like, it was getting progressively worse, so then I just sort of took a step back and just find out what was going on. And I saw at that time that I was probably like merged with the space at that time. And that's because I sort of just took a step back. But probably what happened was I was merged with listening prior to that. And I guess my question is, when you do the drunken, or when drunken walkenness is happening, are you generally merged with something? Is that part of the drunken walking, or not necessarily?
Yeah, it is. You are merged with something. That merging is your mind is merged with the body, and mind is going beyond the body. If mind is with the body, you have some sort of control over your body. If the mind does not identify the physicality, although you have a body, especially while walking, it will fly Yeah. So don't levitate. so that is why it is merged in the sense equanimous, more and more equanimous, more and more one-pointed. Yeah. It could be anything. Your equanimity may be with anything. Right. After fourth jhana, your equanimity is increased. And because you are so equanimous means you don't react. Since your non-reactional mentality is so high, it keeps on going. And it's an area that only the person who experiences would know exactly. And even that person find it very difficult to tell. This is why we have Pacheka Buddhas. They attain, but they can't tell it. Just imagine the struggle Lord Buddha has taken to put this into words, into perception. Just imagine those words, what a trouble Bhante Dhammajiva is taking continuously to explain to the other people. Right? Because if we read what Lord Buddha has said, I don't think I will understand. But when he explains that with the practice, then it makes very, very clear sense. Right? So it's an ability. Right. Sarat Mahatma, I think you wanted to say something?
Here, I just want to ask, when you do sitting meditation for some time, you get into the experience of feeling that your part of the body is not there. The first time I experienced it, I thought that the part of the body below the navel missing, sort of.
Yeah.
So what does that indicate, sort of?
That indicates now when you become mindful of your body, your perception of the body gradually vanishes. It goes beyond recognition of the elements. You don't even now feel the elements. You don't even have the feelings. Right? So when you go beyond those things, it will not happen all of a sudden, everything will go. Sometimes you feel your hands are missing and your limbs are missing. And in this case, very clearly below navel, you don't feel, which means you have mastered that part of physicality and that part of sensation. So because you have mastered the sensations, the mind does not identify those things. You have neither pleasant nor unpleasant perception so far as that is concerned. Right? So if you keep on doing that, it will grow into the other parts of the body as well, and just let it happen. You can't do it, it happens. So only thing we will have to do is continue what we are doing.
Of course, this never happened when I was walking.
Yeah.
It was only a sitting experience.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is not necessary to happen in all the techniques.
Postures, yes.
It happens when the right conditions are provided.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can provide those conditions even while walking. Then what happens is, but I don't suggest you to do that, because if I may say so, because of your young age,
yeah.
because there is a tendency to fall down.
Yeah.
And if you fall down, then it is not right thing to
Yeah.
do. It's better to do that in sitting.
Yeah. One more little question. When say in this, say take the experience of walking meditation, would it be correct to say that when I take my left foot, I am transferring attention to the left foot, and when I move the other foot, I'm transferring my attention to the other foot. So it is a question of transferring attention continuously from one to the other. Does that constitute sati?
Does that?
Does that amount to sati, mindfulness?
It is in a way,
Hmm.
but not exactly what has to happen.
Yeah.
The reason is, what we want to know is our experience when the attention is taken there. So you just take the attention, but you don't gather the rest of the information because your mind is occupied with transferring attention.
Right.
So don't label that way. Let the walking happen and drive your attention more into what shapes, manners, sensations that you can gather in the process.
Yeah.
As I have told these two who came today, have one point and try to grab more and more information starting from that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for joining. And with that, I think we can, are we having that session on Friday?
This Friday, yeah.
Okay.
If you are able to, please come.
Yeah, no, because some people ask a few things, so I just wanted to know because nobody has confirmed anything.
All right.
So
okay.
I will see whatever that happens. I will keep this in mind now.
Yes.
Okay. Right. So to conclude the session, we will chant the traditional stanzas.